What's happening, guys? This is Logan Robinson from here at the Cannons from BucsGameday.com. We're here live on a wonderful Wednesday. Will be great, hopefully, tomorrow with a primetime matchup between the Bucs and the Falcons. But before we get to some predictions in that game and our preview, we've got a handful of things to talk about. We got Jason Pierre-Paul returning to the Bucs, two-time Super Bowl champion, won one of those with the Bucs back in 2020. We actually got to speak with him in the locker room. We're going to do a deep dive into the addition of him and what he thinks he can bring to this Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense. Also, too, River was on site today at One Buc talking to Todd Bowles, and we got some big-time injury updates, both good and some bad. That just seems to be the theme for the Bucs this entire 2025 season. You get good news, and then you also get it with some of the bad news as well. But we're definitely going to talk about some Mike Evans as well. Then also, too, the outlook of Todd Bowles and this season overall. What is it going to look like, determining on a few factors and outcomes of this season? What does it look like if Todd Bowles does not win the division? What do the Glazers do moving forward? Interested to get some opinions from both of these guys on the show. And then, of course, our Bucs versus Falcons preview and some predictions there as well. But with me this evening is Caleb Skinner, one of our best writers at BucsGameday.com. And then over there on the other side is our lead editor, River Wells. Gentlemen, we are close to 24 hours away from kickoff and Ray. Jay, how we doing?
We're doing pretty good. Just ready to watch some football, ready to talk some football, as always.
Yeah, just same. Just hoping Todd Bowles and he's got the team ready to come out and do what he said. If you're going to take your frustrations out, now's the time to do it. So hopefully that's the case tomorrow night.
Hopefully so. They need to find some momentum and quickly. Even going back to the Arizona Cardinals game, yes, they won that game, but man, gentlemen, it was close. It still wasn't a pretty game from them, and that wasn't a great team that they were facing either. And then, of course, you have that loss this last Sunday against a god-awful Saints team to a rookie quarterback that made himself look like Josh Allen. Like, you just can't have that happen. You just can't have that happen.
Lamar Jackson out there. Yeah.
Dude, I know. With the way that he was running, holy smokes, put him on your fantasy here for that's the playoffs.
Guys, don't do that.
Yeah,
we can't condone that at BucsGameday. Don't start Tyler Shuck.
But let's start off with number one here with Jason Pierre-Paul coming back to the Buccaneers. Like I'd mentioned, a lot of experience, was a star there for the Giants. Then he comes over with a trade over to the Buccaneers. And then, of course, he wins a Super Bowl with the Bucs in 2020, a guy that's a fiery, loud, very voiceful, I would say. I got to learn that firsthand. River, you too, while we were in the locker room. This guy is going to keep it straight up with you and tell you really how he's feeling and be really personable with you, which is nice to have. And I actually spent a little bit more time. I was leaving, had to leave early from the locker room and was walking with him. And what was funny was he was yelling on his own. I don't know if he was singing, but it was very loud just by himself and talking about his age. Like, I'm an old man. And he's just yelling out loud to himself. That's just who Jason Pierre-Paul is. So it was good to have first interaction there. And he's excited to be back. He's excited to be back with some of those former teammates, and Levante David, Vita Vea. And he's just hoping to hopefully bring some juice. And it feels like, from what Larry Foote said as well, that's what this team needs moving forward more than anything.
Yeah, I've got kind of two thoughts on it, and I'll get your take here, Caleb, as well. But yeah, it seems like to bring him into the locker room to kind of give him a push, give him some juice. Larry Foote, we talked to the outside linebackers coach of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He said something similar. He said Jason Pierre-Paul is his favorite outside linebacker to coach. So it's kind of a fun reunion there. You have a few questions. On one hand, it's a very low-risk sort of move, right? It costs almost nothing to bring Jason Pierre-Paul back at this stage. And if it's a locker room guy that you want to get in there and get a fire under him, that's all good. It doesn't cost much. He doesn't even really have to go out there and do too much of anything. He's just hanging out, right? Or he could contribute. So at the ceiling, he could give you a little bit of a boost in the pass rushing, core that you didn't have. So that's a good thing about it. I have two questions. One, why do you need a guy to bring you juice in the locker room in week 15? Right? That's not good. You're in trouble, I think, already at that point. if you're trying to bring a guy in to do that, and the year is almost over, and the NFC South is about to kind of fall out of your hands. And the other thing is, if you want production from a guy or someone who can actually contribute on the team with a pass rush that is struggling, on either edge. And you've got scouts in your building whose job it is to look through practice squads and look through who's available in the open market. Is there really no one else that you can bring on to the team who's not 37-year-old Jason Pierre-Paul, right? So I think it's a valuable question to ask. If you're looking for actual production, I think you'd look anywhere else. And if so, would the scouting department not have any other options of younger, healthy players who are maybe stuck somewhere, can't get any playing reps in a practice squad, could be called up, or maybe someone who's recently released or a player who's younger looking for a shot instead of a guy that, played here from 2018 to 2021. And not to mention that last 2021 season, when you look at the stats, his last season with the Bucs, he had 2.5 sacks, right? And then he had 3 with the Ravens, and then he played for 2 different teams in 2022, and he hasn't played. So it's not quite a Phillip Rivers situation where it's been 5 years, but it's been a while. So interesting to see where they go at this, what their intentions are with him, whether he's just a locker room guy or he does want to come and contribute. And but it's pretty interesting from a number of different ways when you kind of look at it and you start asking a few questions, I think.
Yeah, it's very intriguing. Yeah, I think Rick was the one that asked Larry Foote that question, Rick Stroud. And I found it very interesting. He's talking about, it kind of reeks of desperation at this point. And I found it very interesting the way that Larry Foote kind of started that answer, saying, he's going to be able to come in here and provide something that we can't, in whether that's a player aspect or whether that's a coaching aspect.
Right.
That's worrisome. That's a big issue, especially when you come in and season out and you're talking about the culture that you have in this locker room. You've got guys that are willing to step up to that plate to be that leader in the locker room, and you don't have that. Not only apparently do you not have that within the locker room from a player standpoint, but if you as coaches can't hold your own players accountable to be able to, turn this, ship around, then you've got some serious, not only culture issues, but just some serious issues, whether it's personnel, coaching, whoever's on staff, whether that's scouting as well. River, going back to you thinking about, hey, if we're looking for production, why are we looking, across practice squad? Why aren't we looking at waivers, whatever it may be? And that's a massive issue. That's a huge hole that is probably a lot deeper than most Buccaneers fans and even us who cover the team are able to see from the outside looking in. So that does not, bode well in confidence of me and what this team is going to be able to do the rest of the season. Then again, JPP is JPP. He does play really hard. He does bring that juice. He does bring that fire. How much playing time he's going to get, not sure. We thought maybe with Hassan Reddick and his ankle, he might not be able to, come out there and play tomorrow, but all signs are pointing towards him being able to do so. Yeah. So at the end of the day, it's just a real, question mark. I know this is one of Jason Licht's guys, and it's great to have him around the team and things like that. And JPP also went on took to his Instagram not too long ago either and was like, hey, a clip of the Buccaneers defense and what they were doing is like, I can still do better than this. And, that kind of probably got talks going a little bit between the two sides. But yeah, it's a real question mark of a move. Ultimately, is it going to pay off for you? I don't think so. No. It's not going to be the end all be all. He's not going to change one guy, period, no matter who it is, isn't going to come in here and change what is going on unless you're perhaps,
like Myles Garrett.
Like a Myles Garrett or
Max
Tom
Crosby.
Brady. Like obviously Tom Brady and the type of player he is, he's going to, light a fire under some, behinds in the locker room just because he's not afraid to speak up. But where are those voices here? And you really need it. So it's interesting. I don't think it's going to, really amount to all that much for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers towards the end of the season. But, good to see JPP back in the pewter and red.
I mean, I thought whenever, someone asked him, how he is physically, what do you expect to contribute? And he said, maybe I got it. Maybe I don't. We'll see. I'm like, I don't know if you want to hear that from the guy you just
He just said you'll just have to see. He said you just have to wait and see and find out. I mean, and he said that he's been expecting to play. He said he's expected to play at some point this season. He's been training. I mean, we saw him in the locker room. He's built. He's a built guy. Shape. He's cut. He's been in very good shape. I'll give him that. And he alluded to that. I mean, he told us, he had been training with a trainer and training with some other guys as well, and said it's not easy, but he's been putting in the work. He's put out, I checked out his Instagram as well. He's been putting out a lot of posts of him in the weight room, pulling cars, and then he even pulled up his own car to $1 back in, what was that? September,
that was a few weeks ago. Yeah.
He posted that, and we all were like, what is happening here? Surely not. And it's crazy. Now you're in December and JPP is back into $1 and might have a potential to play later on the season. Do y'all think he plays tomorrow night, or do you think it's just off to probably next Sunday?
No, if he does play, it would probably be from next Sunday onward, I would imagine. It would be tough for me to not play football for 2 years, show up for 2 days, and then again, though, guys, Phillip Rivers is going to do it in Indy this weekend.
Right.
He's going to do it this weekend. And that's 5. That's 5.
And that's a lot tougher to come in and play quarterback right off the couch, right? Like learning that system real quick. Obviously, we saw Baker do it when he went to the Rams for those couple of weeks. Right. But but still, the one thing you can point towards here is that JPP is, has the full understanding of Todd Bowles' scheme and Todd Bowles' defense.
He does. I think it's a little early,
but it is pushing it.
Yeah. So. Yeah, but I'm then going back, and we'll wrap it up on JPP. But does this team need juice? Does it need accountability being held for this team? This defense is not playing good at all. It's bad watch. It's a rough watch. That game for Saturday, we cover FSU. That was about as close as I could get to being, oh my goodness, I'm watching FSU football again. But it's on a Sunday and Raymond James Stadium.
I like watching FSU football a lot more than this football.
No, you don't. I'm sure you love it. I know you do. You and Miami fans absolutely love it, and you're Gator fans. But yeah, no, you need someone that can voice, and I don't know if they have that. You're hoping, we're about to talk about it here with Mike Evans, but they really need somebody to, at least on that defensive side, to just put something on behind them and put some fire, man. It just feels like some things are dead there, and the accountability has been gone. And not that it's all needs to be put on the players, and we'll talk about it, but it all starts from the top. And Todd Bowles is your defensive coach, and we'll talk further on that in just a minute. But this team, Todd is not a fiery guy. Yes, he'll get into you on the sideline here and there, and who knows what happens behind the scenes as well, but that's just not the way that he works. He's vocalized that. It's just not how he's going to do things, and he relies on his players to do that. And right now, his players are not doing that. I don't think they have a lot of confidence in the scheme and the defensive side of the performances that they're putting together, and it certainly shows. And maybe JPP can be one of those guys on the sideline to get them right. Definitely, if there's some lacking going on, there's not guys using their voices enough. He's one that will certainly do so for you. The Bucs have had a handful of guys in the past have been able to do that. When Warren Sapp, I don't think he was quiet. Don't think he was quiet for you.
No, something gives me the impression that that's not the case.
Great story from Chris Sims, by the way, on the first time he ever met Warren Sapp. That's out there on social media if you guys want to go check that out.
Yeah, I didn't watch that clip. What exactly did he say?
He was just like, he's like, I think Gruden set me up that I, had to go beat Warren Sapp first off. And he kind of was like the guy who hazed him throughout his rookie season, and was telling the story about how he would take his bags up to his room on the away trips, and he would set them down, and Sapp would throw $20 on the ground, and he would have to pick it up off the ground and just go on it. But he also talked about how, Sapp was always the loudest voice in the room, and that's why his locker was always the first one when you walked in. To the building and into the locker room. So quick little snippet there on Sapp is pretty cool that I thought about.
Sapp, there's the 10-part documentary coming out. Is that
tomorrow?
That's tomorrow.
Okay, yeah. So
and Logan and I saw a little bit of it at the Tampa Theater. Looks
dude, it's cool. Incredible. It's absolutely incredible. I'm very picky on my shows, and I love my Hard Knocks. I love my HBO shows, and it takes me a lot. But I will be tuned into that fully. If you want full on behind the scenes, explicit, rated R, it's pretty transparent on everything. And you got Jameis in there and some fun parts of him in there. I think he said, you wouldn't have ever gotten Tom Brady if it weren't for me. So it's
very fair.
It's got that along with a whole lot of other code. I think Mike Tomlinson. I think they've got 100 plus interviews in there as well. So that's going to be a really fun watch. And I'm sure we'll give our review later on after the season's over once we have some time. But let's keep on moving on here, gentlemen. River, like I said earlier, you were on site at One Buck after practice today, and we got some pretty big updates from Todd Bowles. I say we start off with the good, and then we go to the bad. What did he have to say about the availability of some guys on Thursday night?
Yeah, he mentioned that there are 4 players that are in jeopardy of being out. 2 out confirmed, 2 doubtful. 2 out confirmed. You've got, I believe, Rashad Wisdom on IR out, right? And then Servassier Dennis, the linebacker, he's been starting for Tampa Bay. Has had a bit of an up and down year, a lot of down. But he will be out, probably replaced by a
You're giving us
committee
the bad news first. He
that will
reversed it on us.
feature with Deion Jones. Will probably get the quote unquote start, but Todd Bowles said we'll mix in Nick Jackson, we'll mix in John Bullock, those 2 rookies, to kind of help alleviate that. Next up, we've got K. Otten doubtful, Tyke Smith doubtful, right? Doubtful usually means you're not going to play. I've always thought that doubtful is a weird designation to have because it basically means you're not playing, and then if someone does play, they still investigate you for it. But looking like it's probably going to be not so for those guys. Maybe on a non-shortened week because they were both at practice today, practicing, but not really probably going to be the case for Thursday.
I think the biggest one out of those guys is Tyke.
Tyke, big time. Tyke's played a lot of good ball. So.
You would if we point to the defense out.
The positive is too. You got a guy like Christian Izzy and be able to step in. Kayvon Merriweather can also play pretty solid in spot play as well. But yeah, Tyke making that transition from nickel to safety was pretty seamless for him this year. He's been playing at a high level, flying around like Todd Bowles likes his safeties to be able to do. So huge loss. K. Otten, not that big of a loss because he hasn't even produced pretty much at all this year. So maybe you're going to see more. No. You are going to see more Devin Culp, Payne probably getting the start there, but not a huge loss, there. And then Voss, you could say it's a loss, but ultimately we've seen how the middle linebackers have done all season, whether it's been, Servassier Dennis or Deion Jones or even Levante David, who had a pretty horrific game against the Saints last week.
Dude, it's been bad. It's been bad for that linebacker corp, and there's you got a young guy that just doesn't seem things aren't clicking for him, and then you got an older guy, a legend in the game, and to this Buccaneers organization that is just showing his age, and it sure did show this last Sunday. And man, I've been pushing to see more Devin Culp. This guy has been a star in training camp. The biggest thing that they wanted to see him improve on was blocking on the line and everything. And I don't know if they've seen improvement there or development from him. But in the passing game, K. Otten is not it. Devin Culp is. And that's why I hope we see some more Devin Culp on Thursday night. Why not? Why not? Because K. Otten isn't just giving you anything at this moment in time. I mean, you already have NFL draft projections of the Bucs even going into the first round, which is a whole different story. Going into grabbing a tight end. I mean, that's where they're at. They have no threat at the tight end position in the passing game, and Devin Culp does give you that. So it's going to be really intriguing to see what you get out of the former Washington tight end. And of course, like you said, Tyke Smith is Tyke Smith. That's a loss, but luckily you got Christian Izzy in there.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. Christian Izzy should be able to handle that pretty decently, given that he's been able to handle those things in the past. But this defense is rough. They're bottom 5 in numerous metrics heading into this game over the past few weeks. Nothing's working on that front. So it is Kirk Cousins, but I would expect them to still end up getting quite a few yards on him. So we'll see what happens.
Now we need the good news. We need the good news. I mean, we heard from Todd Bowles today that things are looking good for a return of not only Mike Evans, which is obviously gigantic for this offense and what they want to do across the board, certainly in the red zone, which has been hurting them, but over on the other side, you could be having Jalen McMillan back, who had a strong ending to the 2024 season and was absolutely killing it throughout camp. And then also, too, jumping into preseason. I mean, I think we were hearing a lot of reports. We weren't up there in Pittsburgh, but for that code training camp with the Steelers, he was absolutely eating up
Right.
the secondary for the Steelers. And, that injury hurts him. We don't get to see him at all until hopefully, December 11th. But what did Todd Bowles have to say? And what did, I believe someone did ask, what did Mike Evans and Jalen McMillan show you guys this week in order for you to say, hey, it's a green light for him to go tomorrow night and J-Mac?
Yeah. We didn't get anything on J-Mac specifically, but he is questionable to go. He was activated with Mike Evans, right? So the understanding is he'll go, right? Bowles has asked, has Mike Evans showed you everything he needs to show you for you to believe that he can go out there and play at the best level he can? And Todd Bowles said yes. So I would assume you'll get both those guys back. They've been activated. And they definitely need as much help as they can get everywhere. We mentioned that the defense is bad. The offense is also bad. So they need to get guys back for that. Special teams rough as well. So it's overall not looking great. But that offense particularly needs to beat man coverage. That's been probably their biggest problem. And that's probably a scheme thing and a players thing combined. Players that are currently playing wide receiver have a tough time breaking free from man and press coverage. And maybe the scheming could help them do that better. But Jalen McMillan, could be one of those guys that could really help with that. They liked his ability to do that during training camp. Now he could end up doing that again. And then, of course, Mike Evans, if you get him one-on-one, his jump ball prowess alone could help in that sort of area. So could help the offense in one of its biggest weak areas.
Yeah, separation has been a thing, talking about that man-to-man, and Emeka Egbuka we have seen is not, the best at separating from his defender, and J-Mac is fantastic at being able to separate from his defender. So getting him back would be huge. Whether he's 100% or not, I highly doubt it at this point, considering the severity of that neck injury that he suffered. But getting Mike back is going to be huge. Just being able to have that one-on-one action, like Baker's always said, if you play Mike one-on-one, he's just going to throw it up there because he believes that he's going to come down with the ball every single time, which should improve that red zone percentage that Bud Cannibalists is over there talking about on YouTube. So thank you for joining us, Bud. So that red zone percentage could go up here towards the end of the season with Mike back. Let's just hope he maintains that health throughout the rest of this, because he had a concussion, the broken clavicle, and then there was something else on top of it. So it was a long, extended period of time for Mike to be out. Let's hope that Todd Bowles is right, saying that he has shown everything up to this point and he can go full throttle, because the Buccaneers need him. Baker needs him. I think having a guy like Mike Evans, gives Baker that comfortability to just be able to go out there and play a little bit more freer, not have to think as much, and just be able to, go out there and place the ball where he needs to just get it to Mike. So having both of those guys back will be big, open up the offense a little bit more. But there's big worries about what this offense is and what Josh Grizzard has been able to do in his first season as the OC. So is it gonna change? It remains to be seen. But coming into the season, it was like, hey, the Buccaneers have one of the best, skill position weapons all across the field. Now you're finally getting these guys back, right? And then we're gonna see, is it true what we were hearing coming into the season, or is this like a false prophecy where they just don't have it?
Now, to River, talking about Tristan Wirfs here, expected for him to be back as well. I think there was probably a possibility where he could go this last Sunday. But I think they wanted to keep that pretty safe. I think they felt like they had a strong chance against the Saints, which they still have some strong talent there at the defensive line position and pass rush with some veterans there. But I feel like they felt safe. I mean, two wasn't 100%, so didn't want to risk anything at all.
Yeah.
Coming to a short week, they knew, let's just wait and put Tristan out there on Thursday night. But he's expected to play right, River, on Thursday.
Yes, absolutely. Was not on the injury report, even as questionable.
So
sweet. I would not even say he's questionable or not expected. He will. Yeah,
that's a great sign. Great sign. Talking about the offense too. There was a question in here on YouTube from Country Pirate asking, the question is, even if the defense plays moderately better, can Baker overcome some pretty bad quarterback stats for this year and play better. So what a beginning of the season for Baker. I mean, he was absolutely crushing it. You were in the MVP conversation. This team was 5-1. You had the Bucs as number one. Tom Brady put the team at number one and was getting shout outs from Tom Brady and Baker. And then things start to slide from him, and the injuries certainly don't help there as well. What is really early on in the season with his knee, leg injury, and then also jumping into that shoulder injury that he took a couple of weeks ago that he's still trying to fully recover from, and you can tell it's impacting him. And two, it also limited him with that leg injury and the running game, which he was absolutely crushing it in to begin the season. Gentlemen, I'll take it to you. You hope with Mike Evans back, Jalen McMillan back, that certainly helps. You've had Bucky Irvin now back 2 games in a row. Do we see Baker bounce back with his play, or do things continue to go in this trend where Baker, finishes off the season rough like it's been at the moment?
Well, Sal actually has a comment here saying he can't complete a 10-yard pass. And
I was waiting for River to see that one.
I do actually have a stat for this.
Oh, yeah?
I had posted this on Twitter. I think I've told both of you guys. But if you look at Baker Mayfield's completion percentage when he's throwing the ball 10-plus yards in the air, right? 10-plus air yards. Since the bye week, he's 18 for 46 on those passes, 39%. In the past 3 weeks, he is 4 for 24 on air yard passes, 10 yards or more. That's really bad. In fact, that's much worse than even the second worst quarterback in that metric over 3 weeks, Tyrod Taylor. We know that he had some trouble with his shoulder in the Rams game. Still recovering from an AC joint there. But since the bye week, 28 for 78 on those passes. So that's pretty tough as well. When you look at the actual ranking on that, he's 38th of 41 in the NFL since then. So that's a combination of a few things.
Not pretty.
It could be Baker's injuries, right? Could be withholding him. When we talked about them not being able to get open in man coverage, that makes those passes harder to get to, right? People talk about that K. Dotton play where he got hit. I don't think that was pass interference, but the bottom line is that it was pressed up together, right? He couldn't get any separation. And if the team has a hard time doing that, then those throws become harder for Baker Mayfield to make because a lot of those deeper shots are in that one-to-one man coverage situation. So that could be a part of it. Drops could be a part of it. I think that Emeka Egbuka catch was a 10-plus air yards pass. And the bottom line, guys, also it might just be that Baker Mayfield's missing on these throws because he just is, right? Yeah. And he has always had a lot of talent at quarterback, and there's always been some throws that he can't quite make. And his deep accuracy has been a point of contention over the last few years, and it doesn't look good this year, particularly after the bye week, where it's fallen off of a cliff. I think there's a few explanations for why that could be, and guys like Mike Evans and Jalen McMillan might be able to help with that. They can get open, but Baker's got to hit him, and we've seen plenty of open field misses from Baker Mayfield. So that could just be who he is as a quarterback. That could be just struggles that he's having. And you don't want to be in that sort of situation, especially because a extension has been talked about this offseason, and if they don't make the playoffs, or they go and they get blown out, you would have to think about that. And the bottom line is he's not been playing good football since the bye week. Baker Mayfield has not been playing good football. It's one of the things wrong with the offense in general, but it hasn't been good, and the advanced metrics and stats back it up. It's tough. So he's got to play better. They got to get schemed better. The receivers got to get open. Everything just needs to get better, guys. I don't know why I keep segmenting into little pockets. That's just what's going to happen.
Yeah, I agree 100% with what River's saying. Those drops come into play too. You look at those Emeka Egbuka drops, Chris Godwin touchdown drop a couple weeks ago as well. Those are all over 10 yards. 2 out of the 3 were touchdowns. Maybe 3 out of 3 should have been touchdowns. So that's really tough. But something that we have noticed over the past 2 weeks being in Raymond James Stadium is Baker's back to happy feet Baker.
And once you guys can watch it on the TV, if Baker Mayfield kind of pump fakes where he starts kicking his feet in the pocket, he's about to make a mistake. And that type of footwork and that type of nerves in the pocket. And part of that, and I didn't mention this in my last thing, which would be worthwhile, Well, you've got 2 offensive linemen missing again, Ben Bredesen out. Now you've got 2 backup guards. Deep shots and intermediate shots, like 10 plus, however you want to define deep or intermediate shots, those become harder when your offensive line's not as stout, right? If you don't trust your offensive line, if they're getting pressure, they're giving up pressure more frequently, that makes those long developing plays a lot more difficult. That can cause you to get that happy feet in the pocket, and that could be a big domino effect there. So
And that
you're
comes
absolutely
back
right about that.
And that comes back to that comfortability thing that I was talking about earlier, and not having guys on the offensive line, not having guys on the outside that you can trust. It just puts Baker in that uncomfortable position, and that's when you see his feet start to go, and he's overshooting wide receivers, putting the ball in places it shouldn't be that could be turnover-worthy plays. Fortunately enough, they haven't been too drastic like we have seen in the past when he's gotten a little skittish back there in the pocket. Right. But yeah, that's a big part of it, is that comfortability factor for him.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Well, moving forward on this, the future of what the 2026 season looks like, it's going to be a very, 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 very busy offseason for the Bucs, and it's going to get even busier if this team can't make the playoffs. If you let Dave Canales and the Panthers win those 2 games, they come back and they take the division from you after this team has been the king of the NFC South for a long time.
They can take it even sooner if the Bucs lose against the Falcons, by the way. So,
yes, they sure can.
Yeah,
gentlemen, I mean, where are we at with Todd Bowles? Because I see it certainly after you lose a game like that against the Saints. I believe his comments afterward were talking about, it's a tough division and things like that happen and such. I just can't say things like that. Number one,
you're in the worst division in the NFL, brother.
after what, a 3-10 team at the time for the Saints. You just can't say stuff like that. And this team had a lot of high expectations. We were there at training camp. We heard from the interviews. We heard from the players, even this coaching staff. They felt strongly that this is a Super Bowl team. This is a team that can go all of the way, but there's always a consistent theme throughout the middle of the season where this team just loses its grip. Right. It just falls apart. It falls apart right in front of your eyes. And this team has a ton of talent. Yes, they've been riddled with injuries. We understand that. We get that. But that defense has not been of a struggle there with injuries. Yes, they've had a few, and that's just going to happen. It's the NFL. Things are like that. Are going to have to.
It is.
Things like that happen. That's just football luck for you. And guess what? Todd Bowles, he's the defensive coordinator. He's the one that is calling those plays on that side of the ball for you. And it's just not a pretty side right now. And then there's a lot of issues. And of course, too, whenever you go on these losing streaks, it's what we question is what the locker room and the culture is. And we've always felt pretty strongly about the culture. But when you have, and I don't think it's a big deal, and I don't think, Levante really wanted to talk to the media after the game. That the way that he performed, I doubt he wanted to talk to anybody. He was probably really pissed off, and I wouldn't blame him at all. But, it was talked about Levante David got out of the locker room quickly and left that game. And, there's certain things that are starting to question, the outlook moving forward under Todd Bowles. If this team does not make it to the playoffs and win this NFC South division, gentlemen, what are your thoughts on Bowles moving forward? And is there some talk about, Jason Licht on not making some moves this offseason with the NFL draft? We were talking about pass rushers. They did not hit on that. Of course, David Walker got hurt. That sucks. But Reddick has not been what you expected to have from him. And once again, you're lacking at the linebacker position. Is there a conversation about Jason Licht as well?
Yes. I
gave you a lot of good stuff there to work with.
Yeah, I'll do mine, then Caleb will do his. I'll even go a step further because one of 2 things is going to happen. They're either going to outright miss the playoffs because they cannot defeat the Carolina Panthers in either a sweep or 1-1, or they lose the Falcons and lose 2, and the Saints lose the Panthers and the Panthers outright win it. One of those things. They're going to miss the playoffs, right? That's going to be a disaster after starting 6-1, 6-2, right? That's going to be a huge, huge disaster. Or they're going to make it. They're going to win the NFC South for the 5th time in a row. They're going to host a playoff game at Raymond James Stadium. It's going to be against either the San Francisco 49ers or the Seattle Seahawks, and they're going to get destroyed on their home field. They will. They absolutely will. And then you're going to have the same thing happen that's happened years over, right? These first round exits. Just look at these stats here. Right now, the Buccaneers passing defense and passing yards per game, 27th in the league as it stands. Last year, they ended 30th in the league. 2023, they ended 28th in the league, right? These things continue to happen, and it doesn't look like they're making any progress on getting fixed. We asked Todd Bowles, how do you prevent these mid-season slumps? And he gave the worst answer, I don't know. If I could fix it, I would, but I don't know. And when you are just doing the same things over and over again and you don't have an answer for why you're losing, I'll take it one step further than that. The Bucs don't know why they win when they do either. They don't have a clear path to victory as much as they don't have an answer for why they get defeated. And when you don't have those answers and year by year the same thing happens, I think Todd Bowles is in real danger. Even if they do make the playoffs and if they get beat bad, I mean, you have to think that conversation starts, right? Because I mean, it's all nice to win the NFC South, but logistically, if you look at it, man, in any other division except maybe the AFC North, Logan knows all about that. In any other division, this team's not even coming close to making the playoffs. Not even close. And because they're playing in the NFC South, they had that opportunity, and it's all nice to do that. And Buccaneers fans went through a long period of time where there was doom and gloom every season. 5 wins, 4 wins, 6 wins, no shot at even sniffing the playoffs for a record amount. And now that you've got it and you've had that taste, and unfortunately for Jason Licht, you won a Super Bowl in 2020. People are going to want more. They're going to think they deserve more, that they can keep this amount of success going and be a real contender in the league like so many other teams are able to do. And the Bucs are not able to do that. Is that Todd Bowles? Yes. Jason Licht. I think Jason Light's done a good job. I think sometimes I think we have a lot of homegrown talent in Tampa Bay, and I think we're finding that some of that homegrown talent and the depth that they have, who are drafted by the Bucs, developed by the Bucs in Tampa, only team they play for, isn't working out, right? When you've got these injuries, a lot of these players are unable to step up. Guys like Chris Braswell, right? Not good. Certain positions, Jason Licht and Todd Bowles, it's both of them, right? Can't develop an edge rusher. The linebacker position, they had a vote of confidence on Servassier Dennis and a very aging Levante David, and now it's become a massive liability in the middle of the field. And they didn't think that they had to make any moves for that. They were content with that, and now it's bit them. No moves at the trade deadline. Light's not a trade guy. That's fine. He values draft picks. Well, when you go and draft Chris Braswell with those draft picks, suddenly it becomes a problem. And he's done some good work, right? Jacob Parrish looks really good. Taki Smith looks like a great safety option. There are a lot of players that Jason Licht has drafted that have developed well, and he's got a lot of hits, more so than many GMs have. But then overall, with the roster makeup and the inability to kind of scout certain positions, you run into problems. And there are problems with both of these with the head coach, with the general manager. And the bottom line is that for the past few years, we've done the same thing. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. We're not getting a different result, right? It's the same thing. The defense is just as bad. The slump still happens at the exact same time, right? The Bucs are going to go to the playoffs. Maybe they will. If they do, they're going to get beat. And guys, they will get beat. They will get beat.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think either way, I think no matter what happens, unless they go on a crazy run and they get to a second, they win their wild card game. I think Todd Bowles is in real danger. Real danger either way. I think he's absolutely on the hot seat. I checked hot seat articles yesterday. No mention of Todd Bowles anywhere on any of them. I think that's a big mistake because if he does come back, if Bowles does come back, the staff is going to look a lot different. His defensive staff's going to look a lot different. Maybe the offensive staff looks a lot different. It's hard to truly evaluate Josh Broussard this year, but maybe you even take a look at that, right? So there's going to be changes. There might be drastic. They might be small. but there will be change because right now, you're reliving the same story over and over again. You're in a time loop, and not a good one, not a cool one, not a science fiction one, a bad one. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, Caleb. But I think no matter what happens, Todd Bowles is firmly in danger.
Yeah, I'm just kind of expounding off of the things that you've said, and obviously the Bucs have, had their pride in that homegrown talent and bringing these guys along and developing and things of that nature. But if you go and look at the success the Bucs have had recently, you look at that 2020 team, and every single player that made plays, even during that Super Bowl, was not homegrown talent. Shaq Barrett, Tom Brady,
Right.
Rob Gronkowski,
Leonard.
JPP, Leonard Fournette, Antonio Brown, on and on and on. Yeah, you still had Chris. Yeah, you still had Mike. Yeah, you still had Levante David, but Mike didn't catch any touchdowns. Chris didn't catch any touchdowns. Levante David didn't make the splash plays. It was all the other guys that were doing the work for them, and it paid off. Look how it paid off. So yeah, if you have the right homegrown talent in there, then cool, it'll work out for you. But you have to be willing.
Good Paul.
Too, and Dominic Sue as well. You have to be able to go out and get a guy in free agency, whether that's this offseason, whether that's mid-season at the trade deadline. It doesn't matter. You have to be willing to do so. We're past the point of, we don't want to spend, right? Like that's 4 or 5 years ago at this point. You have to be willing to, shed some draft capital, spend some money here and there. Are the Glazers willing to do it? I don't know. We know they've got their hand in a lot of other, leagues outside of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So what are they willing to do to, get another Super Bowl, take you further than, just, the first round of the playoffs? And that also ties into when Todd Bowles has been the head coach, the furthest they've gotten. Yeah, they've gotten the NFC Championship game, right? And who knows? It's kind of a one-off, in my opinion, because ever since then, it's not been, you haven't gotten past the first round of the playoffs with Todd Bowles as your head coach. And again, this is the NFC South. It's the worst division in football. You play, Atlanta's, you play the Saints, and even though Carolina's up and coming and trending, they haven't been good for years.
And they're still not a good team.
And they're still not that good.
Right now, they're playing better football than the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Right.
Unquestionably, I would say.
Again, like you were saying, River, hand in hand, are we going to keep doing the same thing over and over again? And I understand that people are like, 4 straight playoff appearances, this, that, or the other. I get it. That's a great place to be. But if you're not doing anything with it and you're just, this is the status quo, we're just trying to reach the playoffs.
If you're happy with that, that's fine.
Then cool. Then be happy with that.
Playoffs.
It just depends if the Glazers are.
But me being a Bucs fan, as well as somebody who covers a team, I feel like I can speak for the majority of Bucs fans and say I'm over it. I'm tired of it. I mean, you can go back to last year, and we'll get into this too. It's the whole, why is Godwin in the game against the Ravens when you're down 28 points? And then he gets hurt and he's out for the rest of the year leading up to this year. And then the subsequent fibula injury for that's coming off of that. But this year, all this kind of starts to add up. And then, what happened with Liam Cohen? There was that option. Did we want to? I saw this on social media. After this year, instead of firing Bowles, why don't we move him to the front office? Why didn't you do it last year? Why didn't you do it last year when you had one of the best offensive-minded coaches at your disposal who was ready to stay in Tampa, by the way? And then you could have been like, hey, Todd, man, we appreciate everything you've done for us and what you've been able to do. We'd still like you to contribute in some sort of way or fashion. DC, open for you if you want it. If not, we would love for you to, be in the front office, be able to help us make these decisions, no matter who we bring in on that side of the ball. Just be able to be, an analyst like Bruce Arians is, just a shoulder to lean on type guy. Because I do personally like Todd Bowles. I think he's a great guy, a great human being, and he's a decent coach. But it's kind of past that at this point. And there was an opportunity last year, and this year I don't know if you have that same opportunity. Sure, there's some good coaches that are going to be available for you if you do fire Todd Bowles, but is it going to improve all that much, or are we now in an era where we're like pre-Tom Brady all over again, where it's like, yeah, you might win the NFC South, but it's not going to get much better from here. So there's a lot of questions that might be asked. A full examination of the front office, as Florida State likes to call it. That type of deal at the end of the season. It might have to happen. Now, for Jason's side of things, I'll give him a little bit of leadway here because he has done really well. Going back to the Brady days with his drafts and what he's been able to do. But again, You can't, just put your laurels on your draft picks. You just can't. You need to go out there and make some bold moves. And if they work, they work. And then you're going to be looking like a hero. If they don't, they don't. You move on and then you try it again. And then if that doesn't hit, now you can be talked about as, hey, like maybe I'm doing something wrong. What's going on? Let's adjust. Let's move on and go from there. But I'm a little less worried about, Jason right now. I'm more so worried about the head coaching situation with that future. If they don't make the playoffs, you absolutely have to look into that. But again, if they do make the playoffs, you could see them being like, oh, we're going to keep Todd again. We're just going to keep him around.
Mm-hmm. You know what?
I want to put up one more thing too. You mentioned this, Logan. You said the Glazers for a second. The Glazers are okay with that. There's a financial aspect to this as well. Hosting a home playoff game is huge, right? You get a lot of money from that. A lot of revenue comes from a lot of different sources when you do host a playoff game. What's better than hosting one home playoff game every year is hosting two. And if there's not as much of a way to make that happen, and it's becoming clear and apparent that's the only thing that you're good for, then that's another question to be asked, right? So I think there's a lot of stuff going on there. One more comment I wanted to address: the NFC South being the worst division in football. I mean, the AFC West has two playoff teams in it right now, and the Kansas City Chiefs. The AFC North is one of the best quarterbacks in football, and Lamar Jackson in it too. Actually, Joe Burrow and Cincinnati Bengals as well. The NFC East has the defending Super Bowl champions in it, and a Dallas Cowboys team. That's going to be an important game as well. The NFC South has none of that, so it's definitely a super weak division. The AFC North this year is pretty weak as well, so I think that's definitely a competitor. But year in and year out, it doesn't have a lot of the things that other divisions have, and it's definitely a very weak division. And I think if you're playing outside of it, you would be in a very bad spot right now, and definitely not even fathoming a playoff spot if you're playing in any other division in football.
Exactly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, depends if you want to be complacent and be fine with that and get bounced in round one. And
after you get a Super Bowl, the standard changes. The standard changes.
And as it
Once
should.
you hoist the Lombardi Trophy, you are establishing yourself as a competitor and a contender. Mm-hmm. And fans are going to want that, and they should, because you've proven that you could do that within 5 years. It's hard to get back to Super Bowl. It's hard to win just one. And we all know that. But there are teams that can do that year in, year out. You can rattle them off. That can compete for a Super Bowl every year.
That's what you should be striving for.
That's what you want to be able to do. And clearly, this Bucs team can't do that. And I think it's definitely right for fans of the team to want that to be the Bucs and to not be complacent with simply being a playoff team that gets bounced all the time. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, we'll give a deeper dive into this, because the Glazers, though, they're not fine usually, even after winning the Super Bowl. I mean, they did a lot of stuff, a lot of movement. Tony Dungy, John Gruden. I mean, the Glazers, I don't think are fine with just kind of sitting around. Now they're going to evaluate things certainly too. I mean, we'll see what happens on Thursday night, but when you move forward, and depends on the division between the Panthers, and if they give it off to them, this conversation goes even more into it. So we'll have a ton more coverage here on the show on Here the Cannons. But gentlemen, we've got one more thing to hit on, and that's Bucs versus Falcons. We'll make this pretty swift here. The Bucs are favored at 4.5. Now, we just got some news a little bit earlier this afternoon. Drake London for the Falcons is going to be out for this one, so that defense for Todd Bowles gets a big break there. Early thoughts into this one, gentlemen, and where are you leaning for the Bucs? This is at Ray J, at home. Hopefully, it won't be a sloppy, rainy night. I think the weather is going to be fine, a lot better than what we had this last Sunday. And you got the creamsicles coming out.
You do. I would say this Falcons team is better than the Saints team that the Bucs just lost to. Any given Sunday or Thursday, I suppose. Divisional matchups. Having Jalen McMillan and Mike Evans back is important. But the bottom line is this team's not playing good at the football to beat anyone like, the Saints or the Falcons. Kirk Cousins played against them last year. He torched them last year. Absolutely thrashed them. He threw 4 touchdowns in the first game, and they threw 4 in the second game. Over 800 yards passing. The Buccaneers play a type of defensive zone that Kirk Cousins loves to eat up. The defense has a ton of problems. Heike Smith is out for them as well. The offense is failing to execute at a high level, and special teams is not really, doing as well with the kickoffs remaining. That's a big problem still. I'm going to take the Falcons in this one. The Falcons are going to win this game.
Ooh, damn.
Oh boy.
Well, then we're gonna have an interesting instant reaction on Thursday night. It'll probably be a little bit longer of one as well.
I mean, you gotta be thankful that Drake London's not there, but Kyle Pitts has like his great games every year, and it's always against the Bucs. So you got to worry about that. We've obviously seen how bad the Buccaneers are at being able to, cover guys in short yardage and then allow them to break one tackle and make an explosive play. And then you've got one of the most explosive running backs who is able to do that very, very well in Bijan Robinson. And then again, back to Rivers' point, Kirk O'Bangs there in the ATL is just Todd Bowles destroyer. He just picks it apart every single time that he plays them. But it hurts not having some of these guys on defense. You would like them, even though they're not necessarily, game changers per se, but you would like some of these guys to be in there. The offense should finally get it going. You're not going to have to put it on the ground a whole lot here like you were against the Saints because of the rain. You can put it in the air a little bit more, especially with some of these weapons back. Tristan Wirfs solidifying that offensive line, going to be able to help out there with Michael Jordan at left guard, be able to, kind of double team if he needs to, be able to push off Shed. Whatever he needs to do. So offense should be fine. Bucky Irving getting into a bit more of a role as well now, getting healthier. So the offense should be fine. It's going to be who can score points. I think it's kind of going to be one of those games where it's who scores last. Luckily for the Buccaneers, they do have a really good kicker in Chase McLaughlin. So that could be what it comes down to.
The bank is never closed.
The bank is never closed there for Chase. And then Riley Dixon has kind of turned it on too. So if you can kind of play that, that field, game, if you want to, he's had, I think, 4 punts inside the 20-yard line in the past 2 games combined. So he's kind of been better than he was early on in the season, but coverage has got to improve. I don't know. I think it's really a toss-up. I know right now the Buccaneers are favored by 4.5. You're probably getting 3 points automatically for being home, and then 1.5 for Drake being out, and then not having Michael Penix and just having Kirk Cousins. But it's a really toss-up. I would stay with the Bucs being at home. They pull off a really close victory, probably one that they shouldn't win. They probably look like the worst team on Thursday, but they somehow are able to pull it away.
Okay, we'll see. I'm leaning Bucs on this one. I think the offense gets a little bit clicking there. I think Mike Evans helps a good bit. Defense, I have my concerns, although there was a comment in here, Sarasi Dennis won't be in there, so that might help a little bit. And I know Tyke Smith not playing will be impactful, but Christian Izzy, he led you in tackles this last Sunday whenever he had to step in with Tyke Smith going out of the game. So he's a nice guy that can step in for you on that route. So I lean for the Bucs to win this one, and hopefully, you would be great. For a Bucs fan, it'd be awesome to see where this team wins by 2 touchdown scores, and you feel confident and get some kind of momentum rolling.
The Bucs have won one game like that all year.
Yeah. Yep.
Just one. Just one.
Yeah.
And they just lost the team they did that to.
Yeah. So they gotta see, it's all, you can have dreams, River. You can have dreams. You can have aspirations. But we'll see what this team can do. We'll have full coverage for you guys at BucsGameday.com all across the board, including an instant reaction after the game, after we get done hearing from Todd Bowles, Baker Mayfield, and some locker room interviews as well. So make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. We definitely appreciate everybody commenting and here giving their opinions. Everybody's got different opinions. That's what makes it fun to come on here with you guys, dropping your comments and everything. So please join us too on Thursday night, tomorrow night. And like I said, make sure you hit that subscribe button and hit the bell next to it too, because then it will notify you when we go live on your phones as well. So y'all enjoy the rest of y'all's evening. We'll see you tomorrow on game day between the Bucs and the Atlanta Falcons. We're out of here. Peace.
Yes, sir. Fire the cannons.